Danielle. She should be on any second. So right, you should be getting an invite. There she is. Woo!
Sorry, figure this out.
All right, so now I can only see your mouth. We can't see the top of your face. There you are.
There we go.
How are you?
I am good. I am just putting out fires in my house, left and right.
I love it. I love it.
It's real life.
Yeah. Well, if you have to put out a fire and come back, I'll hold the fort. No big deal.
Right?
So I was just telling everybody that we work together, and you wouldn't know it because we see, I barely see Danielle, like literally doesn't even work a football field away from me. And I never, ever, like, I don't know, I have to run down to our office to see her, and I barely ever see her because she's just, and when I do,
locked in our offices.
Oh. That's true.
I think when I come out of mine, everyone's like, oh no, what's happening?
Oh, wow. So, Chris, so right now, Danielle is a school nurse, but she was not a school nurse originally. This is her second career, right? Like, well, actually, yeah, a second career. And so she's quite busy. She's had a very stressful year, almost a year and a half, 2 years, with all kinds of crazy changes and things. So she really is a hot commodity, let's put it that way, and always has a line out her door, but always has a smile on her face. So.
I try. There's some days it's hidden by a mask.
Yeah, that's the gift of the mask, right? I know. We here, and we're both work in New York State. You still have to wear your masks because there might be people from all over.
Yes.
Who might not be aware of that, but we have to wear our masks at work still. So, and that's for the next. We just heard, was it 90 days? Next 90.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, next 90 days at least. So that gets us through the winter. We'll see what happens after that, right?
Exactly. We can only hope.
Yeah. So, Danielle, let's start a little bit with, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start with that.
Okay. I am a school nurse. I've been a school nurse for about 7 years. North Salem is the only place I have been a school nurse for. I started as a sub there. Before I was a school nurse, I worked in a pediatric office. And before that, I worked at Stanford Hospital in oncology. And
Why did you even do that? Wow.
Yeah, I know. There's so many things. I'm like, just wait. And what seems like a lifetime ago, before that, I actually was in fashion e-commerce. I worked for Ann Taylor Loft in the city. And we did all their photography productions. So back when e-commerce really just launched, I was involved in that, which was really exciting. And after that, I worked at Vince Camuto, which was in Greenwich, Connecticut, again in photography e-commerce, before I became a nurse. Yeah.
Wow. You don't look old enough to have done all of that, just to let you know. Okay? You must have started working when you were 5. Anyway.
I was like ready to go.
So I know there's a beautiful, it's not a beautiful, there's this a life-changing story between why you left the e-commerce and transitioned into nursing. And I think that that's like I love to share stories like this because I think it really empowers women. We kind of get stuck and we feel like we don't have choices, and we, you know, we're on a path and we think, okay, we have to stay on this path. And sometimes, just sometimes, right, if we listen to our little inner calling, right, which we don't all listen to, it can take us to different places. So tell us a little bit about what went on with the e-commerce and how you transitioned into nursing.
Absolutely. So let me preface it with, growing up, I loved marketing. I loved fashion. I always wanted to be in fashion, wanted to work in New York, love that all. And I still do. I love that experience. I love the excitement of it. I love the corporate atmosphere. But in 2000, I believe it was 2002, my mom had a massive stroke. So that landed her in the ICU. She was in the ICU for about 2 weeks. After the ICU, she was taken up to one of the floors in recovery, but was there for, again, some time there, and then in recovery at an indoor rehab an in-person rehab and then as an outpatient.
Wow.
And yeah, so going through that experience, I believe I was 20, actually it was in 2006, I was 26 years old. I was
Wow.
working in the city in this e-commerce for Ann Taylor and Ann Taylor Loft. And the whole process just kind of, just seeing my mom there and seeing the nurses there taking care of her and me not knowing what to do. And this was my mom. The only way, I just wanted to help her in any way that I could. And the nurses would show me things. They would show me how to take care of her. They would show me what it was like to, you know, turn and move her. She was, you know, intubated and all of that in a coma. So it was really hands-on care that they taught me. And I was so impressed by it. So after my mom did recover, she's amazing now. She is 69 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't even
Celebrate
know
her.
that this happened. Yeah, she is a walking miracle, one of those stories. She's wonderful, just to preface it. But it definitely changed my thought process. So I went back into work and I just had a different mindset. I was kind of like, what is this? I love this, but is this really for me? I felt like the realness was getting someone through something like that. Yeah. And I wanted to be a nurse, you know, so it kind of awoke that in me. Yeah.
Wow.
But
go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So another caveat was in 2000. So I continued in fashion e-commerce and I actually moved on. I was in Greenwich, Connecticut with Vince Camuto. And in 2008 was the financial crisis. And I walked in one day to my office and half of my office was laid off. Yeah. Now, because I was, I know. It just, and that was kind of like, okay, if I was going to do something, now is the time to do it. It just kind of opened up my mind to, you know, if I get laid off, how, you know, I'm just going to have to go work back in the city. And now I'm thinking of a family. I had just gotten married. So there was a lot to think about. And I told one of my bosses, I said, you know, I'm going to continue to work, but I'm going to start to go to nursing school. Yeah. So it's
like divine timing though, right? Like, I mean, and who would have thought, like, you would never say that you don't want to ever say that a stroke is a gift, but look at that, right? And that's where it led you, right? Would never have happened, right? The turning point.
Never have happened. I would probably have continued. And let me just say, it's not an easy decision to say, hey, you know, once you're settled, you're making good money, you're in a position that you love, and you're saying, hey, I'm going to quit my job. And at that time I was pregnant. I told my husband, with my first child, I said, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going back to school. So it took, it was really something that I really felt would make me, you know, I had to cut the Band-Aid off then and there. And just in the long run, it's going to put me in a better place. We're having a child. I'll have more flexibility with what I do. I don't want to go back to the city. And I went ahead and became a nurse.
Huge risk, right? Like, what a great, somebody saying business specialist is saying, I love this story. I do too, because it's showing how, like, sometimes you take a risk and you don't know the answer. You don't have, you said yes to being a nurse without really knowing anything, right? I mean, you didn't really have a clue. Like, you just knew that you liked it. Like when you were sitting in the hospital room, like, you know, like, but that was it. And it's such a drastic change from where you were. First of all, I want to tell everybody that if you ever see or meet Danielle in person, you definitely know that she was into fashion, because she makes scrubs look like a class act. Like, I laugh, like, I see her in her scrubs, I'm like, she looks better today than I do. So like, all accessorized.
They make them so good these days.
So she looks awesome even in her scrubs. She's kind of got them all fashionista up, you know, Danielle style. But I think it's so amazing, like you said, like how hard that is to take that risk and then be like, have the courage of your conviction. Like, you know what, I'm doing this and I'm going 110% in, and it's scary. It's really scary, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I guess it's kind of like, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? You know? So it's like, I end up someplace else with a different job or whatever. But at that moment, in that time, you really followed your heart. And that's not always easy, because that almost seems illogical.
Yes.
Right? So
definitely.
Right? It seems illogical that you would change over or make that decision, you know?
Yeah.
So therefore it's, you know, it's a little bit more stuff. So I'm laughing. My daughter's texting me as you're talking to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, stop.
Oh, see,
Fire.
real life.
Put out another fire. So, anyway, so that led you then to nursing, and then you're in the nursing field, and you're rocking your scrubs, and you're doing you know, you're really into it, and you've moved around a little bit. And that's the beauty of nursing, is that it doesn't have to stay the same thing for 30 something years. You really do have a lot of flexibility and a lot of things, right? Yeah, to go into.
There's so, and that's you're right. There's so much beauty in nursing. There's so many things you can do. And the best part about it is, in a lot of industries, you kind of age out, you know, like you reach your, and then what, like your experience is good, but you do age out. They want younger, they want who has been, you know, who's up on the new stuff, the social media, all of this stuff, you know, who can I pay less to do it? You know, all those factors come into play. So with nursing, it's great. You start somewhere and you can go somewhere else. Like I started in the hospital. Some people love it and stay there. I think for me, just the timing of my life, I had young kids that I went into school nursing, but again, I fell into that as well. And I happen to love it, but it's so many options.
Yeah, so much flexibility. I mean, I've always said that even about speech, like, although I work in a school setting, the same thing, I can work in various settings and environments and home care, just like you know, doing all the various different things. And so I've always felt like blessed that there's been a lot of flexibility with that, because could you imagine, you know, although it seemed very illogical at the time, and I'm sure your husband, you know, had to take a few deep breaths when you were like, okay, I'm doing my job, and and not only am I quitting my job, we're going to spend more money because I'm going to go to nursing school, and we're going to have our first baby, and so that's going to cost a little extra money to have right around. But in the long run, I mean, think about like going down, like, first of all, to work in the city or even in Greenwich and have a child, you would have had to pay for childcare and community fees and all that other stuff. So very honestly, it probably all came out in the wash.
It's true. It's so true
that way, but you know, in the end, it probably came out in the wash. So
it's exactly right.
And you get quality time with your children. So that's
exactly.
So then tell us a little bit more now about this. Well, first let me back up for one thing. So I think that I would love the audience to really know that Danielle is telling you to really kind of share your, you know, your passion. And if you have a risk, like, or something that you feel like you want to do, to take it, to just say yes and go with it, even if it's scary. I think that's like a big lesson that is hard for all of us, everybody, you know, to kind of work through that fear and know, and just trust that things will work out on the other end. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I was going to say is just to talk to us a little bit about this new endeavor that you've actually decided to hop on.
So it's kind of funny. I feel like my life has done like a 360. My friend in quarantine introduced me to a wine business. It's my own e-commerce site. And I come from a background in e-commerce. I love the creativity about it. I love what it has brought to me, which is basically a lot of this. And I wouldn't be doing this with you if I hadn't explored this side of this wine business. Yes, but it's a direct sales business with a company that I love and can stand behind. It's a clean crafted wine. It was started by a woman named Sarah Shadnix, and she kind of has a story similar to mine. She was a lawyer. And she loved wine so much that she started drinking it and wanted to become a sommelier. So when she started drinking the wine, she realized that she'd get all these headaches. And, you know, since she was a lawyer, she's like, what's in this wine? I'm gonna pursue this and find out. And you find that all these chemicals are added in mass-produced wine. So she started this company that I partnered with, and they make sure they partner with growers and vineyards and farmers and make sure that everything in this wine is clean crafted, nothing added to it, no pesticides, no chemicals, no sugars. So I decided to stand behind that, and it's kind of brought me back into this kind of world of, this is my business, This
Yeah.
is now like at my own e-commerce site, and I'm doing marketing for it, and I'm meeting all these people, and it's like opened up a whole new world. So besides the day job, it's kind of just fulfilled me in that creative outlet.
Yeah. Hold on one second, Danielle. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you need to let them know now?
Well, they were like,
Oh, this is hysterical. Go ahead. All right. Well, tell them first. Well, you can put your name down, and then we'll decide. We have until February anyway.
Okay,
All right. Let me
perfect.
get back on my
Sorry,
live.
sorry.
I thought that was going to be me.
Nope, it was me. It was me. Sorry about that, everybody who had to witness that. What I was going to say, Danielle, is kind of funny how life takes you, and like unbeknownst to you, all the pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's like you look back and you're like, who would have thought, like I left that job never thinking I would be using those skills again. And look how much those skills are like completely in your life now. And not, and even with, I mean, I'm not saying even like the way education or the way that everything changed with COVID and being online and social, like all of that really, I mean, all of your basis like helped you get through all of this.
Yes.
And then now this next endeavor that you're talking about. I guess I should have backed up a little and just let everybody know though, that Danielle's really like, you know, into, as well as fashion, into fitness and wellness. As well. And I know you and I had spoken about wine because I happen to have those very similar reactions. If I drink wine, I'll get really flushed in the face. Sometimes I'll get headaches. My joints will get swollen. And I stopped drinking wine, right, Dan? I was telling you, now I just stopped. I can't take it. And so often I could do, you know, a little bit if I get an organic wine or if I get a homemade wine, my parents will make wine. So then I do a little bit better, but I was having really hard time with it. So in comes Danielle with all of her like, So talk a little bit more about what the clean craft, what that is, and what the difference is between like the bottle of wine that we get in the store. And I think we had this conversation because I had the opportunity to have some higher end wine and I wasn't having a reaction. And we talked a little bit about first press kind of stuff and you know, so the kind of the difference between like your basic middle of the road table wine versus what you've got going on, that kind of thing.
So mass produced wine, it's actually not regulated. So during any of the process, either whether it's growing the grapes or whether it's bottling it, they can add at any time added chemicals and added sugar to make it taste like your mass produced wine, your typical wine that you get at the store. But with Scout and Cellar and with what you'd find, like if you went to France or Italy, those small vineyards that really take care of their farming, they take care of their grapes, they don't add anything, they make sure that they're picking wine, they're picking the grapes either late at night or very carefully so that they're not damaged and they don't have to add all that additional chemicals and junk is who the vineyards and the farmers that we partner with. And those are the ones that we bottle that wine and bring that to your doorstep. So it's different from your mass produced wine where it's not regulated. Clean crafted is actually trademarked. So it's lab tested on top of that. So we partner with these great people who harvest the wine and the grapes so perfectly. And then on top of that, we lab test it and make sure that it's free of all that junk that makes you feel like crap.
Yeah, it really does make you feel like crap. And so you're wondering like, what are they actually putting in the wine? So it's a kind of like added sugars and added chemicals and
all to make it taste, all to hide imperfections or to make it taste a certain way, because it's a hard process to, you know, really take care of your farm and your grapes and the whole process. It's expensive and you know.
And I know that the growing and even the environment that they grow is very like, that's why some regions in certain regions in the world are good for growing grapes and not other regions aren't, you know, as good for growing grapes.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's interesting. And so then this company goes and kind of partners up with all these smaller, I don't want to say even smaller, but all these other little vineyards, and kind of does like a collection. Is that how, is that kind of, that's what?
Yes. And it is. You're right. It's small boutique vineyards all over the world. So from Chile, from France to Italy to California, they have relationships with certain vineyards, and that's where they get their grapes. They either get the grapes and they, you know, bring it to them and they'll bottle it, or it's either done at that particular partnership.
Wow. So now I'm laughing. I'm thinking, okay, will you ever get to go visit? Because that to me is like, do you get to go on trips?
I know. And well, that's kind of the beauty of this kind of position as well is, you know, nursing, I love that and I have that. But this, they actually do. I was offered a trip to Texas to see Scout and Cellar and where they are. And they actually are doing little incentives that I think one day that will be possible. So it's given, it's quite like a little new world that I thought was, you know, in corporate where they get all those bonuses and all those trips, you know, and I thought that was like over. That's not going to happen. It's now back in my life. So it's exciting. I think that might happen, Anna. I might take you with me.
Yeah, you're going to take, of course you're taking him. Who else would you take? Your husband's right. Going. He's going to watch the kids.
You know? He's watching the kids. Someone has to watch the kids.
Oh, that is awesome. I love how you, first of all, I just love the circle in your life. Like you said, you just keep where you started, where you've gone, and now you're kind of coming full circle, yet you still have everything going that you kind of started with, and it's, and more, right? And more. Yes. And I love that you're able to do both. And I think that's the other lesson I would want to share with women, or men, I should say. Let's do everybody. Let's include everybody. But is that you can do both. You don't have to pick. You don't have to say I either have to be a nurse or I can be in e-commerce. I have to be like I can be, you know, enjoy, like almost have like a fun hobby sidekick and have a career. Like you can do it all. Like you don't have to say no, you don't have to pick, and it doesn't have to be hard and complicated. It can be fun. Look how much fun you're having doing this, and you have fun as a nurse and working in the schools, and it's entertaining and it's busy, and it's, you know, I know we crack up because we have funny stories that we hear and the kids are cute. And then you have this other side that's tapping into all your creative energy and all that stuff that you love, and it's social and it's helping people find healthy or alternatives to things, because I think more and more people are having reactions to wines, and I think it's really important. So I do think that we need to, you know, look at that as well. So I feel like the lesson here really is like, follow your dreams, you know, don't worry about shifting gears or following a path that isn't so conventional, right? It sometimes makes no sense. And then, and trust, and then also knowing that you can do both. In the end, look how it all. So you're doing both really right now, right?
It is. I am. Yeah.
And
my day job and the kids and everything. I feel like, you know, what COVID has taught us all is that to take a look at your life, and we do have options, and, you know, to take a minute to really see if that's that day-to-day grind that we're just kind of going through, is there, you know, an option for something else to lead you in a path where you might be happier and healthier.
Yeah. And I think that that's like really, I'm hoping that people did that. And that's just a beautiful, beautiful message to share with everyone, that you're not really stuck where you are. You always have a choice and you have options, and it might not seem like a choice at the time. I'm sure that was a really hard decision, and but it got you to where you are today. And, you know, it's almost like all the planets align, like God put everything in order and got you where you needed to be. And then to find this company too, right? So then to kind of step in with this company that also is in alignment with your wellness and really health, and you know, you're really into your health. You really like take care of yourself and exercise. Eat well, and as you can tell, look at her skin, it's gorgeous. So, you know, but you know, you really are into that. So then to find something that's like, oh, wine is a pleasure and it's a celebration. And so people have you know, some people can't have wine at all, and that's fine. You're going to respect that, right? You're going to respect all of those people. But in this situation, wine can be so much fun. It's really a way of celebrating, of relaxing and enjoying. It's a pleasure. It's a simple pleasure in life, right?
It's a sociable thing.
Right. And then to kind of, I know for me, like when I really stopped having a glass of wine, even
Same here.
casual, like even once a week, I stopped because it wasn't worth the,
It's
how
not
I
worth it.
felt. I mean, you know,
Yes.
next morning I always felt, or even that night when I was sleeping, I always felt horrible.
Yes.
So, to be able to have a glass of wine now and know, okay, you know, there's a chance I still might get a little thing, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? Like almost
Yeah.
like pleasantly surprised. Like I never know, but I'm usually
Yes.
pleasantly surprised every time I've had a glass. So for Thanksgiving, we had your bottles on the table and we drank
Oh,
your wine and I was
nice.
fine. I was completely fine.
That's
which
great.
which was great. So now, Danielle, if people want to kind of connect with you or they're interesting, I like to, you know, tell people to at least follow you on Instagram, right? So
Yeah.
people moving forward, follow you on Instagram. So what's your handle on Instagram that they can, the best one to follow you on?
So my business handle is at life, LIFEN, moderation, MODERATION.
Good.
That's where, yep. And that's kind of my point of view. I love life in moderation. You do everything that you can, but to what's good for you.
Yeah.
I talk about nursing there, and I also talk about the wine. So that's the best place to reach me. There's my website there. There's everything that you need.
Oh, perfect. All right. So they can get everything there. And if they're
Yep.
interested in, and I know that, you know, I would encourage anybody to like reach out to Danielle if you have any questions, if you're
Yeah.
interested in the business aspect of it, or if you're interested in purchasing wines or
Yeah.
tasting. You know, they have great little taster, like 4-pack things that they
Yes.
sell,
Yes.
right?
They're
That,
back on the
like,
site. Yep.
yeah. So I know that I had the luxury of getting one of them and had so much fun tasting the different wines. And any questions that you have, and I also would say that if you even have questions today about taking the risk and
Yes.
following your dreams, I would say that, you know, you might be a good person to be, you know, to encourage them, or
Absolutely.
say, you know, really knowing and trusting God that all is going to work out, that it all fell into place, and
Yeah.
even, you know, even though you know, your mom did suffer, like everything in the end just worked the way it was supposed to work and
It
stuff. So
did.
yeah, I
It
love
did.
that. And is there anything else that you would talk? Oh, how about before we hang up, I'm talking a little bit about women in business. How about that? How is that like with this? that.
Women in business, I mean, I think women rule.
Yeah.
There's so much we have to offer. And it's, you know, even doing this e-commerce business, I've collaborated with so many old friends and new friends. And it's actually been such a great, you think, you know, women can be catty, you know, but in this group, it's just a bunch of people really empowering you and showing you, you know, that there's ways to think about things and put yourself out there in such a good way, and the benefits that you get from it. And women are smart and they can handle a lot. They can juggle a lot. They do it all. A lot of women I even work this with, or even nurses are great. I love my nurses. They're so strong. They're a breed in its own.
Yeah.
And women in, you know, corporate and e-commerce and things that we're doing here are really powerful. I've been loving the collaboration.
I love the fact that you said, because that's kind of my motto, and hence why I'm doing these lives, is really about women lifting women up. Like, you know, right? Like, let's supporting each other, having a container for us to share our stories, share our triumphs, our sadness, or whatever we have, and also to give those little nuggets of wisdom, which you shared with us tonight, to help lift us up. Like, we're all here to celebrate each other. And I really I think women in general are tired of the cattiness. I think, you know, for the most part, we're tired of that, you know, not supporting each other and comparing each other and the jealousy and all that other stuff. And we really want to step into a space where we can celebrate each other and lift each other up and really support each other in a beautiful way. And no matter what each person is choosing, right? So no matter whatever each person is choosing to do or not do, it's not, you know, to take the judgment away and just celebrate them. So I
love that.
I'm celebrating you and celebrating the fact that you took a chance, took a detour, had a great career, and then, you know, you really you're living what You're really living something that inspires people to take a look at their lives and not feel that they're stuck, not feel that they don't have choices, and not feel that it might be really scary, but you can get through it. And you're just living proof of what's on the other side of that. So that I'm really excited for you. I'm really excited.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this was so much fun. I'm so glad that you
great.
come on. Yeah, it was really fun. And we'll have to do it again. And I want to say maybe I'll see you tomorrow, but I doubt it because I know. I'll never see
I'll wait for you.
I know. But Danielle, thank you for coming on. And if anybody would like to connect with Danielle, you can find her here on Instagram. What is it again?
At life and moderation.
Life and moderation. Okay. Like it's almost like life and, but without the and, right?
Without the A. Yep.
Life and moderation. I love that. I love that. So if you want to follow her and just kind of mingle, see what she's about, ask her any questions, she's available there and you get to connect with her, and that'll be it. All right.
Great.
Well, thank you, Danielle. This was so much fun.
This was great.
Yeah, and we will connect. I know we will.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a great night. Thanks. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.